No, that's fine. I don't mind. For the 13th time over the last 3 seasons, Broadmeadow Magic face off against Edgeworth. And you'd think we'd be sick of this matchup. It's been quite the opposite though, and when Magic and Edgeworth play, everything is on the line, as we've witnessed previously. Last year, Broadmeadow went within a penalty shootout of knocking the Eagles out of the finals, and this season they will look to end an Eagles curse which dates back to 2013. Broadmeadow have not defeated Edgeworth at Magic Park in almost 5 years. And they've begun the season at their free-flowing best, scoring 6 goals in round 1 and 2 last weekend, and they will look to roar into the top 2 with victory today. Defending premiers Edgeworth are behind the 8 ball already, sitting 10th after their first up loss to Lambton and a second round bye. And they can't afford another slip-up this afternoon, with Charlestown already 3 wins from 3. So it should be a fascinating clash as these two foes butt heads once more. Chris Turner, as Edgeworth travel to Magic Park, a place that they've had plenty of success at.
Good afternoon, Bart. Yeah, they sure have, and I'll tell you what, we've got an absolutely perfect afternoon for football. It's warm, but there's a good breeze out in the park. The pitch looks good, and it sets up for a really tasty one, this one.
Yeah, just tell me how these two sides are going to line up this afternoon formation-wise.
Look, we'll see when they get out there, but what we would expect is possibly a 4-3-3, and I would say both sides in that fashion, because we've got Vigili, John Majerowski and Bradbury up front for Broadmeadow, and similar lineups for Edgy up their front. So we'll come back to that, Bart.
So we see the two sides come out onto the park. I'll go through the two outfits we're going to see this afternoon. And for Edgeworth, they've made a couple of changes from that first up defeat to the Lambton Jaffers. Dylan Holtz comes into the starting side, as does Sam Maxwell. Lockie Pasquale, he is out of the side altogether. And Aaron McLaughlin, who started against Lambton, goes back to the bench. The players to look out for them: Jamie Burns, he'll look to continue his goal-scoring form after a debut goal. Dylan Holtz, he'll anchor the midfield. He had a mighty impact against the Jaffers, scoring on 2 occasions. The question is, can he do likewise starting this afternoon? And for Mitch Dobson, he struggled in his Eagles debut. We'll look to build on that, the Eagles defender. And for Broadmeadow Magic, they drew 2-2 with Lambton Jaffers at home last Sunday afternoon. Cody Carroll has been benched in favour of the youngster David Ifield, who starts this afternoon. And John Majerowski, he'll be up front. He hasn't scored yet in his NPL return. He'll look to change that this afternoon. Josh Piddington, he scored a rare goal last week. His first in a few years to snatch a point against the Jaffers. He'll lead his side from the back. And Justin Broadley, look out for him in the midfield. He was signed by former Lakes coach Anthony Richards, who is now Broadmeadow Magic's assistant. He will do plenty of work in the middle of the park. And the coaches for Edgeworth, Damien Zane, the longest-serving current NPL coach in his 4th year at the club. And for Broadmeadow Magic, Ruben Zadkovic starts his 2nd season at Broadmeadow Magic. And he'll look to start this season a little better than last year. They won just 3 of their first 11 before winning 10 of their last 11 in 2017. Perfect conditions here at Magic Park this afternoon. The mercury is just sitting at 27 degrees, maybe a little warm, humidity 65%. And we're just about to get underway. It'll be Edgeworth right to left in their black away kit in this first half. James Cleal is our referee. Does some assistant refereeing in the A-League, which is where he'll be on Friday. And he's going to get us underway for the 13th time in the last 3 seasons these two sides meet. Chris Turner, this is a big one for Edgeworth this afternoon. They cannot afford to drop their opening 2 matches.
No, they can't. It definitely wouldn't be the start thereafter, that's for sure. You were talking about the lineups before, and what we can see with Edgeworth, they've got Adam Corley, Jamie Byrne and Tyson Jackson lining up for them, which would probably, that dictates a 4 at the back for Magic.
This one threaded through, an early chance for the Eagles. And David Ifield gets an early touch after Tyson Jackson cut his way into the box, CT. Maybe another opportunity approaching for Edgeworth with Pat Wheeler. Across the back line to Dom Bazari.
Well, we can see at the other end, but we've got John Majerowski, James Virgili and Cale Bradbury. So that sorts out the Edgeworth back 4 that they'll have across there. So that'll lock up a 4-3-3 combination for both sides. How they deal with the 3 in the middle of the park will be interesting as we unfold this afternoon. Whether one team plays with a holding and 2 higher, or 2 high, 2 lower and 1 higher. We'll see how that pans out.
Ball falls for Pat Wheeler. Tries to thread it through. And Edgeworth, they had Broadmeadow Magic's measure. Well, they've had Broadmeadow's measure back since back to 2015. That was actually their last regular season loss to Broadmeadow Magic. They lost 4-1 at Jack McLaughlin Oval that particular night. But since then, the Eagles have been dominant against Broadmeadow. That was up until last year in the second semi-final, where Broadmeadow won 2-1 on the night. But were knocked out on penalties after Edgeworth won that first leg. So do you feel, CT, that Broadmeadow have turned a corner? They've worked out how to beat Edgeworth?
Well, look, Broadmeadow they've got a quality outfit. You know, let's not be mistaken about that. They're strong all over the park and they're moving the ball well. Look, I think they're a side that's been improving, and they improved as they went last year, and I think this year they're definitely one of the teams to be beaten over the summer. Have they worked out how to beat Edgeworth? Look, you go across the Edgeworth's lineup and they've got, Holtz, Wheeler and McBreen in the middle of the park. Right there, you've got a quality side without looking at the defence and your strike force up front. I think this one's going to be very, very close. And look, I've picked Broadmeadow to win this game. However, it's not going to be a surprise or an upset if Edgeworth gets up.
So we will see an early Eagles corner, the first one for the afternoon.
But we're without Smudge this afternoon, taking a bit of annual leave. Yeah, rumour has it he's going to the Jets a bit later. He's here in ground, but I think he's got his snout in the trough.
And he's downstairs chatting to a few ex-Magic people as this corner whipped in. Appeals for handball. And Dom Bazari is quickly on hand to gather possession and carry it forward. He looks for McBreen, who's scored in his last 2 matches against Broadmeadow Magic. And he gives away the free kick on that occasion. Does the experienced striker, I think that's the best way to put it, since I'm banned from
calling him old.
No, letting you know his exact age. And it really is a home away from home for Edgeworth. The only matches they've lost here since 2013 have been to A-League sides, Melbourne City and Western Sydney Wanderers. It's Paul Bitts knocks this one up the ground. In his first year at Broadmeadow Magic, here's Sam Maxwell now. Chipping up and over the top and looking for Tyson Jackson, who has got some speed. Bitts' clearance, not one of his best, but he got the job done in the end, Broadmeadow Magic. Neat turn from Cale Bradbury. Strange to see a player other than Peter Haynes in Broadmeadow Magic's number 9. Cale Bradbury's got the big boots to fill this year. Here is David Ifield. Now Bradbury looks to play a 1-2 with Majerowski, and he finds some space down the left flank, curls it in, and Bazari with the header away, only as far as Matt Hoole. Surveyed the options and wins the corner for Broadmeadow in the end, but that could be a sign of things to come. Need into play between John Majerowski and then Cale Bradbury down the left flank. We know James Vigili is over here on this right edge. They're going to be dangerous, as always, down the touchline. It's Luke Vigili waving to you there, CT, was he, as he went to take the corner?
Maybe.
So here is Luke Vigili whipping this one in. Just a little too close to Nate Cavalieri in the end, who conceded 4 goals last weekend for the first time in Eagles colours. It's actually the first time Edgeworth have conceded 4 goals since 2015. That was 2 weeks ago, I should say, in round 1. They had the bye last week, Edgeworth, as Luke Vigili.
What I like about Broadmeadow's setup here is that they've got 4 across the back that's catering to a very, very strong attack from Edgeworth, the 3 pinners they've got up high. But they've got Griffith sitting in a holding position, and then you've got two of the best workhorses, in Broadley and Shane Paul. Now, these 2 guys will not stop all game, so that just means that McBreen, Wheeler and Dylan Holtz are going to have an afternoon on their hands. And I think that this matchup, how that 6 in the middle of the park progress, is going to have a huge impact on the game.
And as you said, you're talking about Broadley and Shane Paul being absolute workhorses. And then you've got, as you mentioned, John Griffiths just sitting in behind them. He's a superb player as well, as Cale Bradbury shelters the eyes, takes on Sam Maxwell. And now Shane Paul across the face, and Josh Evans just puts his boot through it. Now Vigili. So after soaking up some early Eagles pressure, Broadmeadow now applying some pressure of their own. And another corner.
So the workload out of those 3, the balance of Griffiths in behind them particularly, and their distribution, they're all capable of getting the ball to where it's got to go. And then you look at the front men of Broadmeadow Magic, and then also, that David Ilfield and Hoole that are going to track into the game. They've got some strike power, and we'll see it this afternoon, I'm sure.
Luke Vigili again. This is better place from him. Justin Broadley, the trademark sunscreen on the nose, across the face, and Jackson does get it away, but only momentarily. It looks as though it may come back, but Justin Broadley decides instead to go back to Eifeld. Matt Hoole. Now Josh Piddington. The captain looking for Cale Bradbury again down that left side, and now Eifeld, he rushed up, and it allows some space in behind for Tyson Jackson, whose touch looked a little too heavy. And John Griffiths will take possession every day of the week in that situation, and now he's given it away. As soon as I praise him, CT gives possession away, as is standard practice, as McBreen now. Good pressure on McBreen. Magic turn it over now. Edgeworth have just pegged Broadmeadow back. Evans, Corley. Still Adam Corley. They turn it away. And Broadmeadow will get the free kick. Shane Paul knocked to ground. Just the 2 goals last year for Shane Paul.
He's just the player that always looks like he's in a battle. And he generally is. He just will not go away on his opposition, and that's why people don't like to play against him.
Such a hard worker, isn't he? There's plenty of hard-working players in the competition. If you're going to make a list of the top 5, he'd have to be in it.
Oh, look, without a doubt. But the other thing...
Here's a nice ball to the outside of his boot. Tyson Jackson to Dylan Holtz, but it just
not
breaks
just
down.
Is he a hard worker, but he's a hard footballer. He can take knocks, and he'll let you know about every tackle he's in.
Here's Jackson again, spying a gap. He was brought to ground. He's got straight back up. James Cleal playing advantage. Corley looks to knock it in across the face. He will win a corner, Adam Corley. He only scored 2 goals last year, Adam Corley, both of them in that win here at Magic Park back in round 12. He scored an FFA Cup goal against Lambton Jaffers as well, but across the NPL probably didn't reach that potential we expected of him, as Jamie Burns just couldn't rise highest for the header. And Paul Bitts, maybe some space opening up here down the left flank for Broadmeadow. Cale Bradbury, he's got the pace. He turns away from Wheeler. Ifield sees the run of Bradbury. That is a great ball from David Ifield. Just to knock it across to James Vigili, who scored 4 goals in Broadmeadow's round 1 6-0 shellacking of Lake Macquarie. Didn't score last week though. Jurovsky back for Houle. Here is Corley quickly up the line to Jamie Burns.
Strong from Burns there. Held the ball in well and creates that opportunity that now.
Well, look at Pat Wheeler so far up the ground, and Jamie Burns was held back. James Cleal did play advantage. It falls for Burns, who strikes, and Paul Bitts gets back after all that. So Burns initially was blowing up about James Cleal playing advantage, and then he almost scored because of it. So I think that negates the argument, CT.
Well, if he scored, he wouldn't be complaining right now, but I guess he's just got to move on with it. He quickly dropped it out of his mind when he had that opportunity, as he should have.
Here is Burns, threading it through. Dylan Holtz, surely not again. Paul Bitts out quickly. That would have been 3 goals in 2 matches for Dylan Holtz. He doesn't score too many. He scored just a 4 last year. It would have already been up to 3 had he been able to chip Paul Bitts. And now Nate Cavalieri rolling it out to Bazari. Not his best pass. Matt Houle to Shane Paul. It opens up for him. And he just couldn't find the range with the left boot. And Griffiths just nicks Adam Corley, who goes to ground.
You just wonder whether the thinking behind Zane to put Bazari at the left side fullback is to cater for James Vigili. If he's done that, he's had a good think about the dangers that he's going to possess this afternoon, and Bazari could be just the man to control that.
Jamie Burns after this one. He had a couple of changes for Damien Zane, and Sam Maxwell is one of those as well. So I find that interesting. He's playing it right back, so he's going to be keeping a close eye on Cale Bradbury. And Aaron McLaughlin back to the bench. So I think that's definitely a planned move on either flank. Here is Pat Wheeler, just holding it up and looking for Jackson.
And Bart, that's going to happen. The coaches, they won't know exactly how each other are going to bring their sides out, but what they will do is they'll have a plan in place. So if one player is out of position that they're expecting, they may jostle something indicator for it, depending how the game's going. And
you can see here Broadmeadow are keeping Bazari, Sam Maxwell and Mitch Dobson, so they've got 3 men back to make sure Magic don't have a 2-on-2 with the speed of Bradbury and Vigili. But it's Edgeworth still applying some pressure as Josh Evans tracks back. Pat Wheeler playing in a higher role this afternoon, with Mitch Dobson slotting into his normal centre-back role. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays in that different position. Here's Jackson. Now Vigili, which will look to be a high foot. I'm just going to check this. James Cleal. He is going to award the indirect free kick.
We can see the ball coming in now.
That's right, CT, isn't it? It's indirect.
It'll be an indirect free kick. And here's that high foot right there. And look, this is
It's a rare one, isn't it? You rarely see this. So, free kick going against a defensive player for a high foot in his own box, I should say. And it will be an indirect free kick. And Daniel McBrain, we've mentioned, how prolific he has been against Broadmeadow.
So what they'll do here is they'll shift the ball off the wall, and McBreen will look to slot it somewhere low.
Here is McBreen, straight into the two Magic players who rushed up at him in Piddington and Paul. And Bazari couldn't whip in that cross with enough authority or direction.
Broadmeadow read that very well. I knew exactly what was going to happen. It was just the ball get shifted off the wall to create enough space to get it into a bit of vacant area rather than just hit it straight into a bunch of bodies.
And you just need players to put their body on the line in that situation, don't you? And you've got two of the best there in Piddington and Paul.
That's exactly right. You don't move unless you know you can get a piece of the ball. However, Broadmeadow have read that well with their players that weren't in the wall and moved very quickly to counter it.
Sam Maxwell tried to angle his pass towards Jamie Burns. Just over a quarter of an hour gone here this afternoon at Magic Park. It's round 3 of the NPL Northern New South Wales. And it's Edgeworth up against Broadmeadow Magic after 3 rounds. Broadmeadow sitting in 4th place on the ladder. They've played 2 matches. Edgeworth, they're sitting 10th, but they've only played the 1 match. These Eagles are the defending premiers in Northern New South Wales, so they really need to get something out of this one this afternoon to get their season up and running. There's a poor ball wide from Tyson Jackson. And CT, a really interesting Eagles stat is that they have not lost their opening 2 matches to a season since 2008. That shows you how strong they've been. This Majerowski nod on towards Broadley.
If they're going to improve on that, they've got their hands full today.
Magic look to take the free kick quickly. In the end, it backfired. Literally off the back of an eagle.
Take this opportunity, Bart, to wish everyone a happy Easter. Love Easter time, don't we?
Yes, and I think it's just the first time in history, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm pretty certain it's the first time in history that April Fool's Day, Daylight Savings changing, and Easter Sunday have all landed on the same day. We'll come back to that. Carl Bradbury, again down the left with some space, takes on the shot. Did Cavalieri get a touch? He did. That's an important touch from Cavalieri. Great strike from Bradbury. How often have we seen that? He gets onto that right boot, cuts in from the left flank, and tries to find some space inside the near post.
Yeah, definitely a great opportunity there. He's just made himself available to get the shot on goal, and Cavalieri needs to make that save, obviously, but pushing it out, whether it's going in or not, you take no chances. You just make sure you've got the ball covered, get something on it if you can.
Matt Houle bending it. And Pat Wheeler is unable to keep it out. It will be another corner. So Ruben Zadkovic just asking James Virgili to wait down potentially for the short corner, but Edgeworth looked to have it covered. Maxwell's going to have to drop back. It may open some space up for Broadmeadow. McBreen quickly onto the ball. Threads it wide for Pat Wheeler, shoulder to shoulder with his opposite number in Justin Broadley.
And can't help but think that Wheeler goes into the middle of the park. Again, Zane, is he's thinking that he needs some muscle in there to counter Broadley and Shane Paul.
Here's Bazari. Nice ball in behind. Will Dylan Holtz be able to track it down? He is. Cuts it across the face. McBreen skews off the side of his boot, but it doesn't do. Similar for Tyson Jackson, who draws first blood for the Eagles. And for the second week in a row, Broadmeadow concede first at Magic Park, CT.
Well, there you go. I mean, for me, it's been mostly Broadmeadow, and Broadmeadow likely scorers. And just what a finish. McBreen luckily miscued that, and it fell beautifully. And what a finish that was in the end.
And Tyson Jackson scores his first ever NPL goal Played for the Newcastle Jets previous to this season. That is an important one for Edgeworth, and Jamie Burns was almost off for the prize again there. Magic are going to have to fight from behind this afternoon. Paul Bitts rolls it out to Piddington. Piddington, well, he got a call from his keeper not to play it back. Vigili uses his speed to get away from Evans and then cuts it across the face. Sam Maxwell is there.
Great ball in from Vigili. You know, in that situation, you can't pick anyone out. You've just got to deliver. He's got no time to look up. He's just deliver and trust someone's going to be on the end of it.
That's where you need someone there, don't you? Here is Vigili again. Bizarri keeping a watchful eye over the speedster as Shane Paul. Well, it was the right idea, wasn't it, CT? Justin Broadley was making that angled run, and had it been a little closer.
That ball in from Vigili was played with purpose for two more moves in front, and it was aimed at Broadley, using Majerovski as a wall. That's all that's about. He's played a beautiful ball in. It was a great opportunity. Unfortunately, the ball just didn't get to where it had to go. Madge won't be happy with that when he has to think about that one later.
John Griffiths with a strong header. Bizarri and Broadley go up together, and Matt Hoole comes down with it. Here is Vigili. Now Matt Hoole sees Griffiths, who also spots some open grass across to his left. Edgeworth track across nicely for the moment. Shane Paul again looks to reverse the play across to this near side of the ground. Vigili goes without it. And Josh Evans clatters into Matt Hoole. That was a strong coming together.
Yeah, that was directly below us, but...
Is that where you prefer to be, up here and not down there?
I tell you, as you get older, they just look more crunching. But yeah, they get back up and go again.
Bit of bounce on the Magic Park pitch there, up and over the top of Matt Hoole and Burns. Now McBrain turns.
Challenges like that, Bart, remind me of an old teammate of mine, David Wilson, Jeremy Wilson's father that plays for Broadmeadow, and he'd never pull out of anything like that. I believe Wilso is watching us this afternoon. He's tuned in.
He goes straight in at a bull at a gate.
Not a bull at a gate, but he certainly wouldn't pull out. If you went in with him, you knew all about it.
Here's Dylan Holtz. Now Jamie Burns lays it off for McBrain. Highfield again on that left flank. Geez, been impressive early on. It's Cal Bradbury chipping over the top. Now Wheeler. There's lots of open pastures here for Bizarri to exploit. Must have played inside towards Corley. Magic cut it out. Just ticking over past the halfway point of this opening 45 minutes in the NPL Northern New South Wales round 3 it is. It's Broadmeadow Magic up against Edgeworth Eagles, semi-final rematch from last year. And it's Tyson Jackson with the opening goal for Edgeworth.
But you mentioned Easter a little while ago. Tell you, I've been very excited about being here this afternoon.
Excited, was it?
Excited. I promised myself I wouldn't tell too many yokes because I knew you'd just be cracking up, but...
Yep, what's that? Ding, ding, ding. We need a ding button for the amount of puns you make, so that's 3. It's John Griffiths looks to find James Vigili. Good, a bit of action. That'll ensure CT's jokes go away. Match, and that's the thing, you know, you can tell CT as a play, it's just entering this lull period and then you bring in the joke. So you know we're in sort of a bit of a a dreary period of the match here. Both sides just feeling the effects of the opening exchanges. It is warm, up around 27 degrees. And just getting a bit scrappy now, isn't it?
Well, you're spot on. And, jokes aside, you do pick that as we go into a drinks break, but you do pick that period. They'll come out, they go out hard, and you saw how quick the pace was, how quick the ball movements were, how hard the tackles are. Now we're just at the point, it is a hot day, they're coming in for drinks breaks, the play is slowing down. We'll probably see a little bit more possession now than what we did, and the ball will be stroked around a little bit more, and it'll be harder to break through because it won't be so much turnover.
All right, well, let's analyse the opening half of this first half. Who would you say is on top? Because, to be honest, I feel it's been pretty even.
Look, the scoreline says 1-0 Edgeworth, and they've had some opportunities when they've been down in the magic defensive third. However, overall, if you were the coach of Broadmeadow, you'd be thinking, we're doing very well here. We don't need to change too much at the moment. We just, if anything, get some more time on the ball. Let's, as we were just talking about, get some more possession, and then at that point, create some possession. And when we transition down into their defensive area, that's when you're going to be talking about how you're going to create some chances. James Virgili, we spoke about how he laid across the ball into the box and without looking. There was a time about 2 minutes straight after that, he didn't pull the trigger. He didn't let it go because he didn't like what he saw. That's the sort of thing that they'll be discussing right now, their options at the attacking point.
Yeah, Ruben Zadkovic quite animated down there, as he always is. Just having a chat to David Ifield down there. Been at left back.
Yeah, in a different sort of language. He's just saying he wants the ball forward and he wants you guys to get there, whether you're dribbling it or whether you're going to play the ball through. Make sure it gets to where it's got to go. Just get the ball forward and get down in that area. And that's what we were talking about before. But if they keep more possession, they do get down in there into the park, then their strike power is going to create some opportunities for them.
So players heading over. That was one of the longer drinks breaks I think we've had. Humidity fairly warm, as I mentioned, over 60%. And Sam Maxwell will get us back underway with the Eagles throw. I'd just say, CT, I feel as though Edgeworth in the end just had a little bit more polish as Jamie Burns tries to hold that one up. Just to swing around and cleared away by Shane Paul. Maxwell, gee, did well to contort his body and then play that pass. Shane Paul. Now Virgili. Not as high as he would like. He pressures Josh Evans and just slipped over. Maybe the pitch a little damper than we first thought. It's been fairly dry this week. Jackson, Holtz, again down the edge. Tracks after it. Luke Virgili hounding him. Jamie Burns swings around, falls back for Jackson across the face, and there is Paul Bitts again. Magic keeper, who was at Adamstown for the last couple of seasons. Matt Houle. Now Bazari fires onto the ball. A couple of outside of the boot passes. This one going astray from Daniel McBreen. Bradbury swivels around. Now Adam Corley between the lines. Spots Jamie Burns, who has no one ahead of him and is just offside. Gee, he wouldn't have been far offside there, Burns, but he sort of gave himself up. Magic at that relieving free kick. Now Virgili's pass. It goes astray and Holtz streams onto the ball. He got a little bit of a tug from Broadley and that deserves a card. And James Cleal is going to give him the first yellow card of the afternoon. Here's Adam Corley, chipping it straight down the middle. Now Shane Paul after it. Bit of a scramble in the midfield. Now Piddington looks to distribute wide. Looks as though Broadmeadow Magic could be making a change. Ruben Zadkovic, I'll come to you in regards to it, CT. David Ifield has copped a bit of a battering from Zadkovic in regards to having his hands on his head there. Poor body language, and looks as though he may even make a change. Do you see? Well, we'll just stick with McBrain. We see the free kick going Edgeworth's way. Do you see it happening?
He certainly signalled for a substitution, but whether it actually happens or not, if he does, it's an early substitution.
Here's Dylan Holtz taking on the strike from distance, and he sprays it wide. Will be the goal kick, but just as we were talking, Jacob Dowse has been sent to warm up.
The risk in making a change this early, if you get some injuries on a warm day like this at the back end, and you've made one through whatever it is, I guess I'll leave that one with the Broadmeadow coach. However, I guess it's one of those things. If it's a disciplinary thing, maybe it's been happening for a while, you don't know. Might have been something through training, you don't know. But certainly on the face of it, right now, would be an early substitution if he's not injured.
Yeah, Shane Paul. It just seems a strange one because he was the only change to Ruben Zadkovic's side this afternoon, David Ifield.
Look, the other thing is he might not like what he sees down their left-hand side with the attack from the right side from Edgeworth.
Here is McBrain. They just open up for the Eagles here. Luke Vigili's outstretched boot was able to thwart the opportunity, and here's Ifield. He's pushing forward. Plays the ball to Shane Paul. Matt Hoole now. Off his left and right. Back to Griffiths. Should say Broadley and then Hoole, and now John Griffiths. Ifield again. Shaped to play that one into the box, but decides against it. Broadley.
That's overhit. Piddington saying to Justin Broadley, just go to the first one, which was to Hoole, and we'll get it that way rather than put the ball over the sideline. Fairly obvious, but, I guess that's where we're talking about possession, getting a bit more of it from Broadmeadow. That's how it will happen.
Daniel McBrain now. This one straight to Ifield, who read it well, but he's turned it over. Is it going to prove costly? Because Dylan Holtz is quick, but Luke Vigili got in his way. Just stymied his run. Bradbury with the turn away from Maxwell. Still Cale Bradbury. Here's John Griffiths. Luke Vigili darts down the left flank, and Ifield again. Plenty of frustration from the Magic players. Majorowski nods it down. Shane Paul doesn't score many, as we mentioned earlier. And the free kick now goes to Edgeworth.
That was a foul. I was just having a notice on Bazari how much room he was leaving Vigili out on this right-hand side for Broadmeadow. He really did give him a lot of room. So, Vigili knew that. He just was making himself available as well. So just keep an eye on that, because that's a real key for Broadmeadow and getting him the ball and how much room Bazari gives him.
Piddington rushes onto the ball. Looks to play a 1-2 with Broadley, who goes back instead to Matt Hoole. So Josh Piddington has pushed well forward here. They're in trouble if they turn it over. They do. And here is Jamie Burns with acres of territory down the left side, but Shane Paul was quickly across, and Burns got away from him with ease. Infield to Corley. Now Tyson Jackson. Back to Adam Corley. It's building nicely for the Eagles again. Here is Corley. Does he take on the strike? He does, Adam Corley. Really loves Magic Park. And he just couldn't find that one inside the left-hand post. But it wasn't far off.
Well worth a hit from there. He picked it up. He saw the gap. He saw where the keeper was, and it wasn't that far off. Broadmeadow don't want to let him or anyone else, for that matter, start pulling the trigger from just outside the box, because that's pretty dangerous. And the lead-up was fantastic. They held possession for a good period.
Here's a ball all the way across the back line. They will get away with it in the end. Luke Vigili stumbles and trips his way, but keeps possession. Bradbury. Now Jamie Burns. He was almost like a thief in the night there behind John Griffiths. Matt Hoole looks forward. Majerowski can't control it. He's had a frustrating season so far. John Majerowski, no goals in 3 matches, playing in that roll up the top. And now Sam Maxwell races into some space. Unlucky with the ball off the back of a Magic midfielder. Here is Bradbury. Shane Paul. Griffith spots Broadley wide. Broadley's made that straight to Cavalieri. He hasn't had too many touches of late, Nate Cavalieri.
Broadley knew as soon as he hit that ball, it wasn't the right one. But you know what? He got in a great area to create an opportunity to get a good cross in.
They've scored just 1 goal from open play in their last 3 matches against Edgeworth Broadmeadow. And once again, they are finding it difficult to break down the Eagles' defence. James Vigili, he's only scored 1 goal in 2 years against Edgeworth. Here he goes, down the right flank. Bazzari is there to block it. They really have had problems trying to break down this Eagles brick wall, CT.
Specifically what I was talking about before was when the ball was with Vigili was on the far left-hand side, and how much room Bazzari gives him. It's a bit of a cat and a mouse type thing, and then Vigili drops inside, so he's been mixing it up a little bit.
So Matt Hoole taking the corners from this side now. That's a change. Luke Vigili was taking them earlier in the match. James Vigili chipping it in. Maxwell away again. Here's Jamie Burns sauntering forward and then threading it through for Jackson, who was just offside. So just going back to last year, round 1 these two sides met. It was 1-1. The goal Magic scored was a penalty. Round 12 it was 3-0 to Edgeworth, and in the semi-final, second semi-final, Magic scored twice. One was from a free kick. The other, Jacob Dowse, sliding in at the back post. So just that 1 goal Jacob Dowse scored. It wasn't from a free kick. Bradbury, can he turn it all around for Magic? Here's Majerowski. Shane Paul, dinking it. Would have been a little awkward had it dipped just in front of the crossbar, but it had too much power on it. We've got just over 7 minutes to go in this opening half. NPL Northern New South Wales round 3. The 4th place Broadmeadow Magic taking on the 10th placed Edgeworth Eagles. The premiers from last year, Edgeworth, looking to kickstart their season at a place where they've had a lot of success over the last 3 and a bit seasons under Damien Zane. Here's Don Bazzari. McBreen let it run on. Shane Paul now to Cale Bradbury. It's being harassed and harried by Sam Maxwell. Highfield on the turn. Back heel from Bradbury. Majerowski. Now Justin Broadley playing a little higher. They aren't afraid to rotate, are they, Broadmeadow, with Justin Broadley just filling in there up top for Majerowski, now dropping back.
Well, that becomes even more important on days that are quite hot like today, just to allow some balance into the team. So that what that means is that, you know, so if you've got a striker that can fill a hole while the midfielder's being caught up high, it just creates a balance, and then you're not doing extra legwork unnecessarily. It's good for the back end of the game, that last 10, 15 minutes.
on Griffiths. That pass was left short on him by Matt Hoole. Shows his frustration with his own pass. Josh Piddington now scored his first goal in 3.5 years last week against Lambton. And that being in the NPL. First goal in 3.5 years in the NPL. Leaves the throw for Hoole, who finds Matt Paul. Neat chest control from Hoole. Now Mitch Dobson has been much improved at the back in this particular match. Hasn't been quite as tested. It's this one, Tyson Jackson. He's on his bike. He will track it down. And just couldn't quite get the angle on the pass. It's very flat across the byline. But Adam Corley retrieves it. And Matt Hoole defends well for Broadmeadow. And now McBreen comes flying across. And to be honest, gives Shane Paul a little bit of his own medicine there, CT.
Yeah, he sure did.
And Shane Paul, he was fine with it.
He doesn't care, to be honest. He's just in for the battle. He does whatever it takes. And gives as good as he gets, and no problem.
Bizarri plays it straight to Vigili. And now Maxwell was across. I didn't want to turn it over there because Carl Bradbury was over on the left with no one in QA of him.
You could just sense from Bradbury, you get the ball to me and it's going home. And that's exactly where his eyes were. You could see he was just a little bit disappointed he didn't get there.
But this is the thing for Broadmeadow is that they get very few chances, that when they do get a gilt-edged opportunity, there's a lot of pressure on it, and you've got to make it count. Josh Evans. Now McBreen, Wheeler spots some space on the right edge. But McBreen looks to go central and then threads it for Dom Bazari on the left, who is just offside. And the Eagles fans are not impressed with that decision. Unfortunately, no VAR in the NPL Northern New South Wales CT.
Well, I don't see...
Are you a fan of the VAR first?
I'll just go to that one in a minute. I didn't see that Bazari was offside, so I'm not sure. And the flag stayed down for a long, long time. And yes, I am.
Here is Bradbury. Cuts inside. Majerowski. Now Bradbury. Neat 1-2. That was beautifully worked by Broadmeadow. And all of a sudden, before half-time, they just open up Edgeworth. So we'll put that on the record. CT is a fan of the VAR.
Provided that the right people are on the other end of the screen.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Great decision last night in the A-League match with Costa Barbarouses getting sent off for that stamp, which wouldn't have happened without the VAR. So we'll see Matt Hoole look to whip in another corner. He really can bend it with that right boot, but that one didn't have the elevation. Shane Paul tracks it down just inside the touchline. Matt Hoole swivels and steps, curls it onto the head of Piddington. Just couldn't direct it on goal. Here is Carl Bradbury, and the free kick will go against the home side. Can Edgeworth strike a second blow before half-time? Tyson Jackson is the sole goal scorer this afternoon. His first goal in the NPL after spending some time at the Jets Youth previously. Vigili goes back to Matt Hoole. Spots Paul Bitts. John Griffiths, and free kick goes the way of Broadmeadow. Little bump. We tick towards the final few minutes in this opening half. Into stoppage time we go. We will have a couple of extra minutes with that drinks break midway through this first half with the heat, of course, as that's a great ball to Justin Broadley. Here's the chance, Majerowski! And 3 games back into the NPL, John Majerowski gets the goal that he really desired there. And Magic equalise right on the stroke of half-time. A huge goal for Broadmeadow. It just opened up for them down the right flank. And Majerowski just picked out the bottom corner with a superb finish. 1-1. Wide to Tyson Jackson, and all of a sudden Edgeworth just have to recalibrate. This one overhit by Sam Maxwell. So not too many minutes left now. You'd say it sent seconds here for Paul Bitts. Knocks someone up the ground. Pat Wheeler. Now to Corley, and after a first half, which they would have been proud of Edgeworth, they'll go in a little disappointed, or will they? Bitts and Jackson a little bit confused. It was Paul Bitts. Jackson almost made him pay. And that will do for the opening 45 minutes at Magic Park. It was pretty even the first half. Edgeworth opening the scoring through Tyson Jackson. But finally, Broadmeadow Magic, they found a way to breach Edgeworth's defence from open play right in stoppage time. And they will head to the sheds deadlocked at 1 goal apiece. Now we're going to head downstairs in just a sec to Chris Turner. Half-time here at Magic Park. Edgeworth, I should say Broadmeadow Magic 1, Edgeworth Eagles 1. And Chris Turner has got Justin Broadley downstairs. We'll cross down to CT now.
But I'm just with Justin Broadley. Juddy, I know you don't like this situation at all being interviewed specifically, but I just want to say, I'll ask you about that goal just then. How important is that to the team leading into half-time?
Yeah, we haven't had the better play, to tell you the truth. We've been pretty ordinary, but second half, just get our foot on the ball more and turn it over too much.
Yeah, and just quickly, a lot of people might have just taken the shot there. Did you see Madger on the inside of you?
Oh, he wouldn't let me live it down at training if I didn't.
All right, mate.
Not to score goals.
Go in and get sorted at half-time. Thanks, Bart.
Thanks, CT. All right, we will take a quick break here at Magic Park. First half in round 3 of the NPL Northern New South Wales. And it is the home side Broadmeadow Magic who have equalised on the stroke of half-time to make it 1-1. We'll be back in 10. Welcome back to Magic Park. The second half just about to get underway. Broadmeadow Magic to kick us off in the second 45 minutes. Round 3 of the NPL Northern New South Wales. Edgeworth scored first through Tyson Jackson. Magic equalised through that man who's about to kick off, John Majorowski, at the end of the first half. James Cleal sends us on our way for the final 45 minutes in round 3 of the NPL Northern New South Wales. The final match on Easter Sunday. The only match today after the previous 4 matches played over Good Friday and Easter Saturday. And CT, the match pretty evenly poised at the moment. But probably expect, based on the first half, Edgeworth just had the better of it. But Magic clawed their way back, and that's a sign of a good side. They can not play at their best and get something out of the opening half.
I guess the thing for Broadmeadow is that they started off well. And then they just, Edgeworth worked their way into the game, and, you know, McBreen, Wheeler, in particular, were really good in anchoring them in. And Dylan Holtz was being very busy. He was getting them away often. So, Edgeworth worked their way in. But they did get Magic the goal at the perfect time. There's no doubt about that. And a good one as well.
Here is Griffiths. Darting across the face of the Eagles' defence. Highfield. 1-2 with Shane Paul. Now Jackson with the turn. Sam Maxwell did well to get away from Bradbury, and Cavalieri put his keeper under pressure. Cavalieri, I think, wanting Sam Maxwell just to go up the ground instead of playing back to him. And David Highfield, who we thought was going to be brought off the ground midway through the first half after Ruben Zadkovic was disappointed with his performance. He really improved from that point forward. Thought he started the game well, just had a little bit of a lull through that middle patch, and then stood tall since then. Here is Josh Biddington. Tyson Jackson. Now Shane Paul. Broadley goes back to Paul Bitts. Now Cal Bradbury. Turns away from Maxwell. It may just open up for Broadmeadow. Highfield. Now Bradbury. Can turn and snap a shot, Cal Bradbury. And the free kick goes against Broadmeadow, much to the displeasure of the home fans. Here is Mitch Dobson. Plays it straight to Vigili. Poor turnover. Majorowski was able to get the pass to Vigili while on the ground. And Vigili takes on Evans. Strikes it across the face. That would have been a superb goal from James Vigili. And as I mentioned, he doesn't score many against Edgeworth. He scored just 1 goal in the last 2 seasons against the Eagles. He almost found the back of the net there. Now Vigili to Majorowski. Griffiths. Cal Bradbury just let it run under his boot and over the sideline. Turned over by the Eagles again. John Griffiths. Magic just getting on top for the moment. Knocks it up and over the top towards Majorowski. will have plenty of confidence after finding the back of the net for the first time in the NPL since 2016 in the first half. Vigili just to get under it, and Justin Broadley was just waiting at the right edge of the box. Couldn't bring it under his control, but Matt Houle goes back to Vigili. Spots Burns, and Vigili is chipping over the top to Cavalieri. So both sides just feeling each other out again at the start of this second half. Magic with the better of the play, with Vigili creating that chance down the right flank. Adam Corley steps away from his opposite number, John Griffiths. McBrain now to Jamie Burns. Back to McBrain. He's looking for Dylan Holtz, who is making a run in between Ifield and Vigili. And now Magic. They look to break quickly. James Vigili with those fleet feet. Vigili! Gee whiz, he let that rip. And once again, he's only just missed the mark. That one was flying towards the back of the net.
First one was left, this one's right. You can't help but feel he's really getting his sights set on making this game go in the favour of Broadmeadow. But that looked from here like it was going in. It wasn't far off.
First one was left. Next one was right. The last one, CT, I think it might be all right. Here's Luke Vigili. Sorry about that.
Can you just leave that sort of rubbish to me, Bart? Meanwhile, Magic Park.
Meanwhile at Magic Park, Matt Houle stepping in off the right flank and then chipping over the top towards Broadley. But Josh Evans, he just gets through so much work, doesn't he, Josh Evans, without anyone really noticing. He will be disappointed with himself, though, allowing John Majorowski some space there to slot the equaliser. But it was just a great build-up from Magic, wasn't it? I know you were down on the touchline getting ready to the halftime interview. Gee, it was wonderfully worked, and Edgeworth looked to do likewise down the other end. Adam Corley, surely not a carbon copy of last year. He almost did exactly what he did last year against Broadmeadow.
Yeah, he sure did, and look, he had a great opportunity there. That's one that could have gone in, and same, you know, we've had two from Vigili down the other end, that one now. This game, you're right, Ben, they have been feeling themselves out, but opportunities are just starting to come in the game, and you know what, they've after half-time, after you've had a bit of a breather, you've had a drink, a sit down, coaches had to readdress where things are up to. Now they come out, settled in, but the opportunities now will start to open up. And you mentioned Josh Evans before, and what a good job he's doing. Yeah, he's a good footballer, this guy, and he certainly adds a huge amount of value to Edgeworth. You know, I didn't feel like that Broadmeadow in that last or middle part of that half were doing well at all.
And there's Bazzari just chipping one to McBrain, cuts it back, Holtz on the header, and he just pushes it wide. He's really stepped up this year, Dylan Holtz, in a goal-scoring sense, hasn't he? I don't recall him having this many chances over the last few seasons as he has early on in 2018.
He just looks like he's presented himself, you know, in front of goals. He's making himself, he's wanting to know where the goals are, and he just keeps popping up, where previously you might have thought he sat a little bit more, but he's not in that vein at the moment.
Called in, McBrain was there, and it was just guided very nervously. Well, John Griffiths would have been nervous, but gee, the fans would have been.
If we thought we had a flat patch in the first half, we don't have one now.
Adam Corley is going to go over and take this one.
Bradbury coming back to help just to get in the way of Bazzari.
So Corley, this one better placed. Bazzari with the header looking to find a way through bodies. Doesn't score many, Dom Bazari. Hasn't scored since 2015. He looks to nod that one on goal. So we see the first change of the afternoon, and it's Justin Broadley who leaves the park, and he's replaced by Dino Fajkovic, who went to South Cardiff in the off-season and then returned to Broadmeadow. There were a lot of off-season boomerangs, CT. Players going to one club and then coming back, or heading to maybe reverse, not even boomerangs at all, heading to a third club. It was an interesting pre-season. Dino Fajkovic.
Just with that change, Bart, so it looks like Fajkovic goes straight up into the middle, the front, Vigili right high and Bradbury on the left, and then Majerovski comes in behind. I like it because then you've got Paul and Griffiths to anchor in behind those, or as a pair behind Majerovski. This is a good move from Ruben, because it just gives him, his intention's now very clear. He wants to score goals.
So it's got Fajkovic and Majerovski playing alongside each other, and Majerovski looks for Fajkovic. Early chance for the substitute, and Cavalieri plucks it out of the air. And had he put it a metre either side, Cavalieri had some work to do. Not saying he wouldn't have got there to make the save, but gee, it would have been a little tougher. That one straight to him.
He did, and
now Adam Corley, it opens up for him again. Adam Corley again against Broadmeadow Magic. He makes them pay with an absolute special. 2-1 Edgeworth.
Just as we were down at one end, Corley comes back. This strike in particular, it's gone on the inside of the post and just left absolutely no hope for Bits. And what a strike, and that really is a big momentum swing for Edgeworth. This, at this point in the game, is a very, very important goal for them, and they know the importance of it. There's a lot of high-fiving, slapping going on. Just talking about the importance of that change, and the tactical change now is where Broadmeadow's strength will be. See how they resolve to that.
3 NPL goals for Adam Corley. 3 goals at Magic Park for the Eagles. That's just incredible. And almost identical to the goal he scored last year here at Magic Park. Check it out. Round 12 last year. Go and have a look. It wasn't as superb as that strike. It was a little lower, but gee whiz, it was from the same side.
Jamie Burns clearly offside there.
And CT, they had their warning about 5 minutes previous. Adam Corley broke free down the left. He was unmarked, and Magic did nothing about it.
Well, that's very, very true, and you can't give players, especially of that calibre, of his calibre, that much room and expect not to be punished. You know, what happens is when the ball goes, for example, on the left-hand side, or it is on the right-hand side now, it's easy to leave Bradbury up on the high left on his own and just leave him to drift, as they do right now. But as soon as the play switches, you've got to shuffle across and be there. And in that case, it just didn't happen. Magic punished.
So free kick goes the way of Adam Corley and the Eagles. I should say Nate Cavalieri and the Eagles. And Adam Corley and Tyson Jackson, 2 former Jets youth players, both scored for Edgeworth this afternoon. It's Cale Bradbury. Look at the swarm of Eagles coming across. And now Dylan Holtz, he's in on goal, and Matt Houle. I don't. What's a group of eagles called? They're not a flock, are they? I know we've got a murder of crows, CT. Flock of birds. Let me do some Googling while we have
I'll go with a flock.
A little bit of a break.
I'll tell you what we have got, though, is, you know, we've spoken about momentum, and Smudge and I talk about momentum quite a bit. Edgeworth have got it right now, and are buoyed by that goal. Their shape now is, you know, really important. You said you're looking for, a flock or whatever it is going to end up being. They're there in numbers, and that's what happens when you get that energy lift. they're certainly here to maintain, if not increase the lead. But as we said, Magic have got, a great change in formation. And what did we come up with, Bart?
Oh, this will take me a while. As we see Tyson Jackson, I'll come back to that after this raid from the Eagles. A convocation, CT. I've never heard of that before. A convocation of Eagles. There you go. There's a new word to add to my vocabulary.
Sounds like a congregation on Easter, doesn't it? Anyway, there we go.
Luke Virgili. So Tyson Jackson has just got to spend some time on the sideline. He's back on now. He's Cavalieri. And he's been told to stay off the ground. He is allowed back on now. Matt Hoole quickly. Luke Virgili. But that diagonal ball to his brother. Couldn't bring it under his control. Inside the final half an hour at Magic Park. Big afternoon for football in Newcastle with the Newcastle Jets taking on Melbourne City. Straight after this one at McDonald Jones Stadium, just about a 5-minute walk from Magic Park. Luke Virgili gets bumped to ground, and Dylan Holtz goes into the book. Yellow card, and it doesn't look too friendly between those two. Thought they were going to shake hands, but that's not the case. There's a little bit of blood boiling between the two of those players, and they are fierce competitors, both of them, Luke Virgili and Dylan Holtz.
Virgili knows how important it is right now to get his team forward, and he was in place to do that, and he felt that it was very cheap. But on the flip side, and Holtz is thinking, well, I need to slow this down, and yellow card doesn't matter much to Virgili. He just wants to get the job done.
So Matt Hoole, he's got Madjarowski and Fadcevic Piddington as well, and Piddington was putting the pressure on Cavalieri. Throws it out to Corley. Now to Burns, lays it off back to Corley, but Piddington was quickly back to clean up for Broadmeadow Magic. And Paul Bitts. Magic fans annoyed by the pass back to the keeper. They're not a fan of play backwards. They're looking for those forward passes, and that is what Luke Virgili provides them with. James Virgili had two cracking strikes, couldn't finish. Madjarowski swiveled, but struck it to Cavalieri at the near post, who was awake to the danger. Tyson Jackson threads it infield for Maxwell and Pat Wheeler. Well, thought that was going to deflect perfectly into the path of Virgili. It doesn't. And Edgeworth again through Bazari. He's been left some more real estate. And Virgili brings it under control. Holtz across. Holtz and Virgili again. It's going to be an interesting tussle to watch unfold. Ruben Zadkovic is going to make his second change of the afternoon, and it will be Jacob Dowse, it looks. It will be Jacob Dowse to come on for John Madjarowski. Another attacking move. He scored his first NPL goal last year in the semi-final, in the biggest game of the year for Broadmeadow.
It looks like at this stage the Magic may have gone to a 4-4-2. Well, there we know. We haven't. We've got three up front again. So we'll just work out what the change has been. So we've got Dowse has come into the left side of the three. Maybe a flatter three this time, Paul. And
Maxwell with the throw. Burns just flicks it infield. Piddington clears it away quickly. And Wheeler goes through the back of Bradbury.
Paul and Griffith. So we'll just see if they play a little bit flatter across the middle. They've persisted with the three up front.
Highfield gets scythed down by Tyson Jackson and James Cleal. He was quickly to the pocket. The card wasn't coming out for him. He was trying to get it out as quickly as he possibly could. Got it out eventually. And Tyson Jackson into the book, and James Cleal wants it brought back. He hadn't written in his notebook just yet. Needs to write a bit quicker, I think, James Cleal. What's he doing?
James Cleal knows at this point of the game that there's a bit of emotion starting to run. So he's making sure they know he's on top and he's got this game in his control. And he's doing a good job.
He is. He's had a great game, James Cleal. One of the top refs in the NPL Northern New South Wales. He's a physio by trade, which always pleases our usual co-commentator, Damien Smith.
James Cleal, the cleaver.
Here's McBreen. Oh, that was an outstretched leg, which was needed from Luke Virgili there. Holtz nods that one down towards Burns. It's been quiet this afternoon, Jamie Burns, and he scored his first goal in Eagles colours against Lambton very early on in the opening 10 minutes. So we see this free kick going the way of Edgeworth. Scored his opening goal for Edgeworth in the opening 10 minutes of that round one match against Lambton. And since then, he's been kept quiet, CT.
Yeah, he has. I mean, look who's right next door to him is Josh Piddington, and that's going to do it.
Dowse keeps the ball in, or he doesn't keep it in.
But you're right, he has, and there's no doubt about that. I think the first 10 minutes of the game, he was certainly putting himself in and around it and had a fair bit of involvement. But he's certainly been quiet through the main part of the body of the first half and into the second half. But he's the sort of player that'll pop up at any time and punish you. So, you know, just because he's sitting quiet at the moment, but he's getting a lot of attention from Piddington, that's for sure.
Which, of course, is drawing attention away from players such as Adam Corley, and that's a nice turn from Cavalieri away from Bradbury, but his clearance went straight to Shane Paul. Fajkovic, can he slot Bradbury in between the lines? Virgili's unmarked on the right. Bradbury takes it on himself, and the ball skews across to Dowse. He has got right under that one. Falls for Houle. Houle surveyed the options. Headed away by Edgeworth, but they are just being forced back for the moment. Here is Dobson. No pressure on Daniel McBreen, and he spots Tyson Jackson. Had he got more height on that long ball, Daniel McBreen, Jackson was off.
Yeah, he just sort of snapped at it, didn't he? It's like he looked and maybe he's a little bit tired as well.
Jacob Dowse clips into Maxwell. It's a little bit of a strange collision there between the two youngsters. Not quite sure who was in front from this angle as Wheeler and Virgili just contest that possession. And Aaron Apetesano making his way to the touchline.
Straight from Port Macquarie, but Port Macquarie born and bred. We go into a drinks break.
So Apetesano's just going to have to wait. Sam Maxwell making his bow this afternoon. He's had a good match, Sam Maxwell. I thought he's been solid. Hasn't been a standout, but he's been solid, and that's what Damien Zane will want from Sam Maxwell. Last year, he was just hurt by uni commitments. He just didn't quite have the time to put into his football, but he's back this year, and Damien Zane needs him to be a regular starter. So both sides will be looking to reset. Ruben Zadkovic has got to try and find a way to get his side back into this game. What do you think he's saying down there in the huddle?
Look, can't hear him from here. There's a fair bit of direct instruction, and I would say he's just saying we've got to play down in their end. Let's get the ball down there and play down there, because that's where, you know, if mistakes occur, it's going to likely be in our favour. We don't want to be playing in our end and have mistakes at our end. But I'll tell you who has been busy for Edgeworth is Pat Wheeler. I like the way he's gone about his game today. You know, I can't help but think that Zane has put him in there because of the workforce or the personnel that Magic have got in their park, and he's had a fantastic game really strong in the middle of the park, and I like the way he's gone about getting himself just always in the right places, being there for the tackles. His distribution's been really good, and he's certainly got that winning look about him. So big game from him so far.
Here is Daniel McBrain. He's done a lot of work, hasn't scored as he usually does against Broadmeadow Magic. He's done plenty of work. Bazari's ball is straight to Hoole, and it leaves them a little open. But defensively, Josh Evans is the metronome at the back. Wheeler threads it through. Well, he's got to be a mile offside, Dom Bazari. He was
Not
almost
sure.
in Adamstown CT waiting
sure
for that
what
ball.
he was thinking, to be honest with that. He really ran beyond the line a long way early. Bit unlike him.
Jacob Dowse now. Curves his run infield. And now the chip ball wide for Apetesano. Looked to be a high foot from Ifield. Still Apetesano. The run goes on. And he's unable to keep it infield. Josh Piddington used his body well.
Terrific defending there from Broadmeadow.
I'll just have a quick glance. I think it was Tyson Jackson. Yes, I can confirm that. It was Tyson Jackson. It looked as though Sam Maxwell had come off. It's Sam Maxwell who is still out there. Tyson Jackson has come off. Aaron Apetesano on. Just a correction on that substitution for Broadmeadow Magic. It's a little bit of confusion with the drinks break. So Apetesano playing down the right flank. He's got a lot of pace. He looks to stop the run of Dowse. Still with Apetesano. Tracks back and knocks that one up the line. Yeah, just the one goal in the NPL, Northern New South Wales. Round 3 last year versus Adamstown. Just a little more than a year ago. Here is McBrain. He's got a lot on that clearance, but Jamie Burns was well inside his own half, so he couldn't take advantage of it. Piddington goes back to bits. Griffiths. Now Bazari read that well, Tom Bazari, and he skates forward. Gee, that's a good tackle from Shane Paul.
That's what he does. That's where his bread and butter. That's his game, and winning tackles like that, and then the distribution.
Now Corley just massively overhits that ball up and over the top. But that intervention from Shane Paul, that was crucial because Bazari likewise had done really well. And then Shane Paul stopped the Eagles' counter-attack in its tracks. Dowse. Out of Agili. Fajkovic, he got goal side of Dobson. Will he make him pay? Cavalieri saves the day for Edgeworth. And Damien Zane is absolutely filthy with Mitch Dobson. He let Dino Fajkovic just overpower him there.
The ball from Virgili there, for any of the young players watching, was on the away side of the Edgeworth defender, and by that, in the path that he can't get there. Bradbury then gets his way through, all from Virgili.
Here is Hoole, low towards the near post. Clearance that Edgeworth will be happy with. And Apetesano has come through and absolutely cleaned up Matt Hoole. I'm not quite sure what he was doing there. He's very innocuous. And he's given away a free kick in a very decent position. And Edgeworth are going to have their work cut out for them here. Magic have got some tall timber. They've got Piddington, who's great with his head. Fajkovic. They've also got John Griffiths. And Cale Bradbury standing in an offside position. He's Can look to run back in. McBrain got the header away to the edge of the 18-yard box. Vigili takes on the strike. James Vigili looking for third time lucky with a long-range effort. He has had some chances and he hasn't missed the mark by much there. Probably the maximum distance he's missed goal by from those long-range strikes from outside the box. Probably a metre every time. It wouldn't be much more than that. Maybe less, half a metre. Here's Maxwell. Jacob Dowse, he got away from Sam Maxwell, who's had to backtrack. Jacob Dowse, he scored that huge goal in the semi-final last year, looking to set one up. Just dispossessing Dave Ifield. Well, he's had a very poor first touch there. Final 15 minutes now at Magic Park. The period that Edgeworth was so dominant in last year. But in their last two matches in the NPL Northern New South Wales, they've conceded 3 goals in the last 15. So they just faded last match against Lambton to concede late. And now Corley is just rode off the ball by Griffiths. Luke Vigili. Now is Shane Paul. Magic looking to build something here. Urged on by their fans. Vigili's cross was too close to goal and to Sam Maxwell. But still Magic probe. Looking for the opening. Vigili. Turns. McBrain come flying out to try and clear the ball. Now Fajkovic turns. And the free kick goes Broadmeadow's way here. Great position for the home side. They play it quickly. Should have they done that, CT? Matt Houle is filthy with his side.
Oh, look, at this stage of this game, I don't think so. I mean, unless it's clearly on, yeah, you can. I remember a guy by the name of Warren Shipley was the master of that. He'd get the ball down and play it, and the ball would be back in the back of the net before anyone knew what was going on. If it's on, play it, but I'm not sure it was on in this instance, and maybe just take the opportunity to get a strike on goal. I guess on the other side of that is they're possibly just a bit too close to get something over the top, so they've got to get the ball off the wall again and slot it.
Pat Wheeler, and now all of a sudden Edgeworth just have a little bit better field position after they've been pegged back for the last 5-10 minutes or so. Edgeworth looked to slow it down a touch. And Maxwell has just cramped up here in front of us. Hopefully he's all right to continue. It didn't look good there for a moment.
They've just been a minor cramp.
Pedasano now gives away another foul.
He is limping, and he is communicating with the bench. Rod Lindsay, their trainer, he's letting him know what the problem is.
Well, if Magic are awake to this, you'd run straight down that side. Jacob Dowse, he's got some fresh legs.
And he's quick. He's Dowse.
So a worry for Edgeworth down their right side. If Magic are good enough to pick out Dowse, who has got acres of space at the moment. Griffith spots him and bullets the pass across, but Maxwell is equal to the task. Now Bradbury, 1-2. Shane Paul, back to Bradbury. Was part of their revival last week. Cal Bradbury, who scored the first goal for Magic last week. They were down 2-0 and he halved the deficit. Holtz. Now Burns. It's a foot race between him and Bitts, who just thumps it up and towards the sideline. Now CT, it's great to have on board this year with Bar TV's coverage, intent recruiting. And you can contact David Franze for professional careers in construction, engineering and mining, intent recruitment. Great to have them on board.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is, Bart, and I'm sure David will look after you if you go his way.
McBrain chipping over the top for Corley, who is running down Matt Hoole. Looked like he was on the treadmill there, Matt Hoole, with Adam Corley bearing down on him. And we've got another change, and it will be Magic's final change and Edgeworth's second. And it will be Cody Carroll, who started last week against Lambton. He's going to come onto the park. Another former Jets youth player. He did 60 seconds with CT last year. And I think CT won that little battle. Old Cody didn't have a great time.
Well, I think at the time we said he looked like he was about 12 years old, but he's playing with the big boys today, and he's got a job to do because Magic are behind, and he's in the middle of the park. He's in the engine room, and he's going to do some work for them, and he's capable of it, Bart.
And we saw Edgeworth make their second change, so Aaron McLaughlin comes on, the experienced defender. He looks as though he's slotted into a left, maybe even a midfield role, left midfield. And another Jets youth player in Adam Corley's left the park. So the 2 goal scorers for Edgeworth now off the field, Jackson and Corley. And McLaughlin, he's got a cultured left boot, Aaron McLaughlin. He can put it on a dime, as can this man. McLaughlin whips it in, may fall for Burns. I think he got the last touch. Magic breathe a sigh of relief. Less than 10 minutes to travel now in round 3 of the NPL Northern New South Wales.
Also got to have a look at the Harry Schnitzel Player of the Day. As you are unaware, Harry Schnitzel Player of the Day is not just something on the park, it could be off the park. Anything to do on game day.
Here's Bradbury, falls for Fajkovic on the volley. That would have been a special from Tino Fajkovic. Didn't score too many last year for a striker, just the 3 goals. They would have remembered that one on their trip across to McDonald Jones Stadium, the Magic faithful, if he had have equalised there.
Well, it would have been a big contender for the Harry Schnitzel Player of the Day, that's for sure. And also we're going to have a look at the man of the match, the Sports Click man of the match. But as he clicks the thumb into the microphone.
And almost knocks over the computer, which we're streaming off today, so that would have been good if I'd have knocked that off the table.
Both Magic coaches are up out of their seats. Anthony Richards, Ruben Zadkovic.
So we are going to see Edgeworth's final change now. Will Bauer. He's ready to go. I remind you, Edgeworth, they haven't lost here at Magic Park to Broadmeadow since 2013. 7 matches it's been. And unless Magic score twice, that won't turn around. Will Bauer just with a handball, his first touch. Not a great one, but plenty to improve for him now. That's what Damien Zane wants him to do in 2018. Wants him to be a regular first grade player, Will Bauer. Broke onto the scene last year with 3 goals in his rookie season. Luke Vigili takes on a man who has an identical haircut with a long throw. Douse across the byline, and it will just sit nicely for Aaron McLaughlin. Spots Daniel McBrain. Steps away from Cody Carroll. Pat Wheeler now looks for a Pedisano, whose close control just let him down on that occasion.
Just having a look at McBrain, I think he's struggling with something. Not sure what it is, but he doesn't seem to be moving freely. I think he may have a groin issue. He's certainly taped up, strapped up.
He's not running freely at all, is he? And they've used up all of their changes. McBrain's lucky not to get a yellow card there. That's a bit of experience, isn't it? Just knock the ball away from the position of the free kick.
Well, he's just giving his teammates a minute or 10 seconds to get back in order. Hoole needs to get this beyond the first defender and away from the keeper is where he's going to be aiming. corner of the 6-yard box on the far side.
So Matt Hoole, is there an equaliser? There's a mosh of bodies in there, and it remains that way. This one whipped in. Fadcevic tries to guide it. Vigili, and McBreen blocks it. Vigili picked his spot, James Vigili, and his goal-scoring drought against the Eagles is over. 2-2 at Magic Park. James Vigili, he was so cool, he was so calm, and he was so collected. And it is going off. Is there an air raid, CT?
It is going off, and that doesn't look like many from here across the ground. They're all underneath us, and now they're going nuts. He's looked like he's going to be threatening, seriously, all the second half.
They have gone off here. The air raid siren, the chimes.
Just have to say, but the quality of that finish, he had one glance and saw his exact mark. It's like about a 1 metre square pocket, and just put it there with authority, and that takes some ability.
And now a Pedisano doesn't quite endear himself to the Magic fans, trying to waste a bit of time there, and the temperature has gone, well, it's doubled. The temperature has doubled in the last 2 minutes in this match. Well, and all of a sudden there's more energy about both sides. McLaughlin pushes forward. He scored a winner here for Edgeworth. He can't do it on that occasion.
If it's
and here is Matt Hoole.
But if it's heated up, it's heated up with chili, that's for sure. It's a red-hot green one.
Here is the man they call Chili, James Vigili. And it's Dowse. And Maxwell rolls one up the line. A Pedisano. Can he just keep his head? He can't. He plays it straight to Bradbury. Bradbury, does he? Well, I thought he was going to shape up for the strike. Vigili takes his time. Vigili picks his spot. He's had some chances today, James Vigili. Tough ones at that as well. That's the fourth strike from outside the box, which is only just missed.
He's really brought himself and Magic back into this game. With strikes like that, he just keeps them in it, keeps the enthusiasm going. The enthusiasm that's just was lacking there for a good chunk of the first half.
A Pedisano nods wide to Will Bauer. He gets past Ifield Bauer. Vigili comes across and was able to bump him just off balance enough. And it's a corner. Oh, there's a bit of drama. Piddington not happy. Strap yourselves in. Do not go anywhere. We have got a superb showdown to end. Gee, we've had some great matches this year in the match of the round. 4-3 round one. Last week, round two, a 3-1 victory to Charlestown. Entertaining one at that. And then here again, another great showdown. Bauer. Piddington away. McBreen rises. He loops the header. Paul Bitts, he's there.
But with only 5 or 6 minutes, you would think, left in this match, it's just on an edge. And all of a sudden, the intensity, the speed, and the tackles, they're all back just like it was in the first sort of 5-7 minutes.
You just wish Magic may have scored 5 minutes earlier, because we're running out of time now. Less than 2 minutes to go in regulation time. We will have a little bit of stoppage time. We've had some drinks breaks in this match with the heat. There's Daniel McBreen, who we know is struggling, seems to be struggling. He's got that left leg heavily strapped. Aaron McLaughlin sees Will Bauer. Aaron Pedisano is offside. McLaughlin, nice ball wide to Will Bauer. Holtz is making the run, and Magic have put it into their own net. Would you believe it? Edgeworth may have stolen all 3 points, and they suffered heartbreak in round one. Well, it's the opposite now. And Magic Park is absolutely stunned. And it's the youngster, David Ifield, who has put it into his own net. And he must just want to dig a hole right now, CT. Well,
in defence of him, there's when the balls are whipped in like that, sometimes you just can't react quick enough to guide it either way. It hits you and goes in. It's really, really difficult. You know what? But the momentum that I was saying before, this game's on a knife's edge.
He's Cavalieri putting his body on the line.
And again, with probably 4 or 5 minutes left, it's not over.
Well, is there another twist or a turn to come? There always is when these two sides meet. Well, there has been of late. Luke Virgili back to Piddington. It'd be an anticlimactic ending if that was the winner, an own goal. Well, it'd probably just continue with the script between these two sides. A Pedisano. Now Will Bauer. He gets Shane Paul coming across at him and is able to dispossess Will Bauer, but Edgeworth still with the foot to the throat here. Pegging Magic back. Does Holtz take it on? Still Holtz. Piddington blocked the run. And now Pat Wheeler just slid that one past the far post. And CT, I just have a sense that when Magic equalised, they were banging off the horns and the sirens, and then they concede an own goal. Were the football gods having a little look at everything that was going on?
It's really difficult, you know, when you're just pushing and you're trying so hard and you're attacking like that. And I feel for Magic if they do lose the game on an own goal. However, you know, Edgeworth have got themselves into position and put them under that much pressure, and that's how this happens, Bart. And, you know, as it turns out, not much you can do about that goal. It just hits your body and goes in.
Did they celebrate too much, too early?
No, look, I don't think so. I mean, we talk about momentum, and when you go down that path, you want the momentum, and they've done all of that. Virgili's done really well in pushing the momentum for Broadmeadow. But, look, you know, Edgeworth are just showing their class here, aren't they?
Well, it was Broadmeadow who equalised last week late against Lambton. James Cleal has a look at his watch.
And then, you know, we're talking about men of the match. We've got Josh Evans and we've got Pat Wheeler, for me, being the two standouts. They're both coming up with critical.
Here is Luke Virgili down the left edge, and Mitch Dobson. He had a moment where he let Dino Fadcevic in on goal. He's learnt from his lesson. Was able to get back and clear the ball over the sideline. James clearly had a quick glance at his watch a moment ago. Ifield back to Paul Bitts. Here is Matt Hoole. Cody Carroll in the midfield. They've got to go forward here, Broadmeadow. And now Dowse with the attempted flick on. But Edgeworth have got all 11 players behind the ball now. Ifield goes back to Bitts. Surely it'll just be route one. It is, and he plays it to Piddington, who will chip it forward now. Josh Piddington looking for that run of Jacob Dowse, who just heads it straight to Cavalieri. And Cavalieri will just take as much time out of this match as he possibly can. Will Bauer brings it down, rolls it out to Aaron McLaughlin, who will look for the corner. Steps back against the grain. And Matt Hoole just shadowing him over towards the far sideline. Will Bauer with possession, and Edgeworth. Well, it's been a match to remember. This round 3 match of the round, as the Eagles climb to 7th and are now within touching distance of the top 4. And Broadmeadow's curse against the Eagles here at Magic Park will continue to 8 matches now, and they'll only get a chance to break that if they meet in the finals. Just incredible. Edgeworth led 1-0, 2-1. Magic pegged them back on both occasions. And then a late own goal from David Ifield ensured all 3 points would head to Edgeworth, as has occurred in regular season matches between these two sides since 2015. Magic yet to beat Edgeworth in a regular season NPL match in 3 years now. Just an incredible domination from the Eagles. Full time here at Magic Park. Broadmeadow Magic 2, Edgeworth Eagles 3. And CT, great contest this afternoon, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think the result in the end, Edgeworth obviously very, very happy with that. Overall, you would expect that that's probably the fair one. However, Broadmeadow in the second half got themselves right back in this game, and you know, for me, a couple of standouts for Edgeworth and Josh Evans and Pat Wheeler. I thought those two in particular did really, really well. Bazari's done well on his game today, and also you know, I think across the park, McBreen, after they'd made their substitutions, stayed strong and got himself into the match or saw it out. Look, overall, Magic in the big chunk of that first half, but they were probably not at their best, and then they had that goal via Broadley and then Majerovski, that combination to get themselves back in it, and then Vigili also stamping his mark in the second half and really showing what he's capable of with a good 4 or 5 strikes that were just outside, and then getting one in the end that got them right in the game. So look, overall, fair result for me. Edgeworth are showing and presenting as genuine contenders again.
And we'll just go through who won the Sports Click Man of the Match and the Harry Stitzel's Play of the Day. Of course, we're not going to be able to interview them because we don't have a camera downstairs, CT. And the mic cord that we had thrown down is not long enough now. So tell me who...
Look, for me, I think Edgeworth have won this game through their defence, and they've done that, and primarily Josh Evans, I think, has been, you know, the strong and the anchor for them from there. So, Sports Click Man of the Match there. Harry Schnitzel Player of the Day. Nothing unusual that we saw from this vantage point off the park, but on the park, Pat Wheeler into the middle of the park. He certainly injected himself and believed that he provided that muscle they needed, you know, against players, you know, like Shane Paul and Josh Griffiths, and you know, and also Justin Broadley. So, you know, I think from that point of view, that's where those 2 awards will go this week. But
well, I can hear the Edgeworth song very loud below us. They always love winning here at Magic Park. It's their home away from home. Would it feel like that to them? That's my final question to you this afternoon. They've had such good results here and such good memories from here. It would feel like a home away from home now. They've played FFA Cup matches here. They've had some great memories.
Well, when you've got a side that's stuck together, I know they've lost a few sort of this season, but the majority of the group's together, and they've got good memories here. And if you've got good memories, then it certainly helps in your preparation to think, all right, you've been successful there before, and you've been successful again. They've played against A-League sides here. You know, they've come and they've turned up on different occasions to play, and on this one, they were certainly up for it. And home away from home, I don't know if you go that far, but they've certainly got positive memories here, and they're down there celebrating right now.
All right, well, that wraps it up from Magic Park this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the football action this afternoon. The Jets up against Melbourne City from 5 p.m. at McDonald Jones Stadium. But full time here at Magic Park, and it's the visitors who are successful once again. Broadmeadow Magic 2, Edgeworth Eagles 3.